I actually have a surprise for you.
Oh my gosh.
The RX1R Mark III.
Live unboxing. Oh my god, that is gorgeous. If you're just a Sony nerd like me, I feel like it's like, woohoo, big tick for you.
100%.
I think across the whole Alpha lineup, the direction is like build a camera for everyone.
And for me, as a product specialist, getting the chance to really handle something completely different, completely breaking the mold, it's peak.
Hello and welcome back to the Full Frame Podcast presented by Sony. I'm sitting down again today with Sean Ellwood, Senior Product Specialist, and we've got some exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, hello. Good to be on.
Yeah, good to have you back. I love these gear episodes. I think a lot of feedback we've had so far has been like really positive and like getting into the nitty gritty stuff because who doesn't love to talk about cameras?
Love that. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd be here nerding out regardless. So
yeah. Just, the cameras aren't even rolling. We'll just be talking anyway. Yeah.
Which is actually what's been happening. Anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so what's happening in the Sony sphere at the moment?
Well, obviously, like the big news is the RX1R Mark III. Secret launch, like, very, very... there was no media access before it went live. We just posted the YouTube videos at like that midnight Australia time. And
I woke up and I was like, oh, this wasn't on my 2025 bingo card.
No. Yeah. And it's been like 10 years, right? It's been a while. But yeah, very exciting. So RX1R Mark III, I think, when you look at it, it's obviously got a lot of the A7R Mark V DNA in there. So, that's
a good way of putting it.
61 megapixel sensor. The RX1Rs have always had the kind of whatever the latest model A7R is, that's what's kind of living inside it.
Yeah, that's the brain inside it.
Yeah. You've got the same 35mm f2 lens. Does seem like there's been some updates in the way they make it. We talk a lot about micron level precision in the way that lens has been manufactured.
Well, there's been 10 years since then, so I'm assuming there's been, some more refining of the process and so on.
It seems like that. And also, I guess, moving to that 61 megapixel sensor, you're going to be making a lot of demands on the lens, so it needs to be up to snuff. Yeah. So other stuff that's new, I mean, we've gone from the pop-up viewfinder to a kind of fixed one on the corner. It comes with a really nice eye cup, actually.
I did notice that. It's again, like it has a bit more eye relief that we talked about on the FX2, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I think that'll be well received. You've got all the autofocus, so the dual Beyonds X. You've got the
new AI chip.
AI chip, exactly. Yeah. So your subject recognition is kind of going to be on another level, and overall autofocus speed is really stepped up. The previous model was basically running off the level of autofocus tech we saw in the A7R Mark II. So, we've got a big
That's
step.
A big jump.
There's several generations there. And so, the performance is
that's
huge.
Three generations leap?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
That's massive.
It's huge. Yeah. It's huge. It really is. So other stuff, touch operation, I guess, for people who are going to care about that. I think the big thing really that the RX1R Mark III is also bringing is some extra battery life. The W series battery. Which is interesting. You've seen like a lot of other bodies move away from the W. Yeah. But I think especially for the RX1R Mark III, to fit that form factor, you're never putting a Z series battery in that thing. It's just going to a different size. So W was, that was the choice. And I think
in specification, it only jumps up 100-ish shots in the rating, but the CEPA rating, I've managed to squeeze a lot more out of what those batteries can do.
It's always pessimistic. Yeah, 100%. And also, like you say 100 shots, but it's like an extra 50% battery life,
exactly.
Right? Like the actual impact is big. So I think that's going to be great. Actually, Clyde, I know we always discuss what we're talking about beforehand, but I actually have a surprise for you.
Oh my gosh. Live unboxing.
That's right.
Oh my God, we're doing this live on the podcast. Oh, that's so smooth. Is that in shot? I hope it is. Oh my God, that is gorgeous. I love that you didn't even, I was wondering what you've gone shopping for.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Wow, the weight it's like so light. Yeah. I love that we're not actually probably going to talk about this. It's just going to be me doing like a live touch and try and you're just along for the ride. That is beautiful. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with this and I feel like I want to just work my way around the body.
I think, do it.
But we're using the W battery. That fits in, like keeping the actual grip that size and so small.
Actually, because I didn't have a W battery charger at home because I went to pick up the sample.
I threw mine out.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like we've kind of, we haven't used them much recently. It feels like a flashback to have the W battery in your hand, but it's cool because this camera also takes USB power delivery. And so, because I didn't have a charger handy, I just put the battery in and charged it up through the camera and it was super quick. So yeah, I think that's actually going to be really, really nice.
I don't know. It actually feels smaller than I remember. Like I know it's a very similar size to the Mark II, but it actually feels smaller in a lot of ways.
I think it's just because we see the camera, mostly see the camera in pictures. It's not like there's a heap of these things around. So, you spend a lot of time looking at pictures and less time with it in hand.
Yeah.
But every time you're right, every time you pick it up, it's kind of a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And like there's so many little design cues that are, talking back to the original, but there's so many other changes that I think people that, the market for this camera is people that, have a deep, deep appreciation for cameras. It's a collector's camera as much as it is a tool.
I think there's definitely an element of that.
And the design cues in general are just stunning. Like it is beautiful and it's so small and light in the hand.
Yeah, it's kind of moved. So the original ones, just talking about like the design cues on this one.
Yeah.
So the original two, so the Mark I and Mark IIs were that piano black finish, which we used on the original Mark I A7s. Which we've moved away from now. So now this has kind of more of the matte finish, which, I think it does take it away from that, I guess, kind of fashion accessory. I mean, it was never a fashion accessory, but it kind of had a little bit more of that, like, it's pretty vibe. And this feels more like a thing you want to use. Like it probably feels like it's going to brass up a little bit better and that sort of thing.
Look great once you've really worn it in.
Yeah. Not that we would ever do that with this sample.
No.
But, I mean, once you get one at home, you can do what you want. So that's cool. The other thing is, I don't know if you remember, but the original RX1 and RX1R cameras, they had kind of like quite a chunky cinnabar ring around the mount. Like obviously it's not a mount, but you know what I mean. And that's been dialed way back. So now it's black and it just has this like incredibly thin sort of cinnabar piping around just where it meets the body.
Oh yeah, I can see that now.
Which I think looks incredibly sexy. I think that is such a great move.
Yeah, this is just, and it uses the same 49. Yep, same 49mm filter thread.
Yeah.
I like having the top dials recessed into the top plate now. I think the original RX1R Mark II had a bit of a elevation on the hot shoe.
Yeah, you're probably right. I can't bring it to mind right now, but
I think this is gorgeous. I want one already, obviously. I think as an everyday carry or for a street photographer, like this is the be all and end all, really.
Yeah.
Especially, I love the 35mm focal length and having an f2 as well. That small. I know you could use a 7CR and put a 40mm 2.5 on it, and that would be gorgeous. I just love that it is kind of restrictive. You can't change lenses, but you can crop in camera. I think it's got an actual stepping crop now. It can do 35, 50, 70.
Yep. So we've added on like the C1 button, which you can see on the top there.
Yeah. Okay.
And the C1 button now does that crop. So by default. Okay. So you can pop it's got a charge battery in there.
Well, don't tell me that. Oh, you've got the...
So I've got the instant camera film look.
Yeah, I was about to say we're jumping straight into the film looks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
I just feel like it's such a natural fit with this camera, right?
Yeah, and there's an addition of 3 new film looks in the creative look.
Yeah. So we added in, I want to say instant and the 2 new.
It's like
film
FL2,
simulation ones.
FL1.
Yep.
I'm really excited by that because for the people that are using this camera. Potentially they obviously want raw. Like if you're shooting a camera at 61 megapixels, you want to make the most out of the sensor. But being able to embed a film look is kind of fun and kind of goes with the character and aesthetic of this camera.
100%. Yeah, and I think as well, with the way that all the apps have improved, the way that Wi-Fi connectivity is just like kind of something that people use as a standard thing these days, I think having something that comes straight out of camera is ready to go. It's just more relevant than ever. Even though, of course, like our ability to process RAW files has gone up alongside that. But I think you want to have like fun looks that you can just turn on instantly.
Yeah, especially when the software can, toggle them off and on. I know you can, when you shoot RAW on an alpha body, you can obviously toggle those features off and on in post. So But that's just so exciting. It is really beautiful in the hand. And obviously there's a bunch of new accessories I saw that launched with it. So like a hand grip, a thumb grip.
Yeah.
And also the
body case.
Yeah.
So it's not like a hand grip as such. It's like a soft case.
The half body case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're right. There's also a lens hood that goes with it, which is like a slotted style lens hood.
Yeah. Personally, though, I wouldn't use the lens hood. I'd want it to flare. If I'm shooting something this beautiful, I want some character.
I haven't had a chance to actually really try it out for flare, but the old ones certainly had a nice look to them. So and it shouldn't be different.
I want to I don't want to touch it too much. It's just like too nice.
No, it's touching my guy. And just to go through a few more of the techie things that are kind of interesting in these cameras. People who weren't there for the original RX1s, because it's 10 years. So they have a leaf shutter, which is something that none of our other cameras have. And actually most people aren't really aware of a leaf shutter. But instead of having a shutter at the sensor plane, which is what you usually do, so your shutter is a physical thing that's just a little bit in front of the sensor. These ones have a shutter that actually operates right behind the aperture. So it's in the middle of the lens. If you ever look at the lens diagram, it's basically just behind the first and second elements, I want to say. Maybe that's a little bit further back, but it's right in the middle there.
Yeah.
And so what you get with a leaf shutter is a shutter that can sync much more easily with flash. Because normally, flash sync failure happens when the shutter's halfway across the sensor. But when your shutter is happening at the aperture, it doesn't, even though it is still scanning down, it doesn't give you that hard shadow like a shutter at the sensor would.
And it's also a smaller area for the shutter to cover.
Much less trouble.
Yeah. So it already increases your theoretical speed.
Right. Covers it way faster.
What is the flash sync speed? I think you mentioned...
1/4000.
1/4000th.
Yeah.
That's really high, especially for people shooting street with direct flash in daylight. That's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be definitely some unique shots that can come out of this. Obviously, it's not at the level of the A9 Mark III with the global shutter. That's literally a perfect shutter. But this one is as good as you're going to get with a physical shutter.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And I think it's also cool to know that because you don't, it's a compact camera. It is designed to prioritize size over necessarily having the highest spec performance-wise for speed and that sort of stuff.
Well, how many frames per second is it?
5.
5. Yeah, but that's more than enough.
I think for the kind of stuff this is going to be used for, it's not going to be a real limiting factor.
Yeah.
You do also have access still to high frame rate video if you want to capture that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's 4K 30.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a cool and unique thing about it.
So who do you think this camera is really for? Or who do you think's most interested in it? If you're just a Sony nerd like me, I feel like it's like the woohoo big tick for you.
100%.
Yeah, but who else do you see really getting their hands on this?
Yeah, I do think it's probably a camera for people who have kind of been around the traps a little bit. I don't think it's obviously with the price point as just as a starting point, it's not like an entry level camera, and it's probably shouldn't be anyone's first camera. By all means, if
you want it, go for it.
If you have the means, you'll have fun. But it's not what you call a learner camera, right? It's got a lot of stuff dialed in that you're just going to work with, right? Obviously, it's a fixed lens camera. It's 35mm. So if you don't like the 35mm focal length, you're going to have a bad time. But luckily, lots of people love that. So yeah, it's going to be one for somebody who has probably had some high-end camera bodies, had some high-end lenses. They've done a lot of the different kind of styles. They've explored their taste in photography, and they kind of want something that is going to give them enough, right? And then they can look at this and go, 35mm, 61 megapixels. I can have a good time with that, and I know what I'm going to be missing out on, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't even been really shooting for that long, like 10 years, compared to some maybe the other ambassadors and advocates. But I like the idea of the restriction in the sense that if I had one of these, I wouldn't shy away from the fact of I'm going on a holiday. Yeah. You know what? 35, I can make it work. especially when there's tools now where you can stitch images, like all the in-camera cropping. There's so many ways you could use this thing.
Yeah, you get around that stuff for sure. Yeah, and a lot of people do these, like one camera, one lens, 1 year sort of things, right?
Yeah, I like that.
And obviously, this would be a perfect thing for that kind of project. It is. It's not a generalist camera, right? I think if you're thinking about a photography business, if you're thinking about maybe setting yourself up to explore kind of the whole breadth of the photography and videography space, this is not where you want to start.
Yeah, this is a not save it for special occasions, but this is a special camera.
Yeah. I was talking about like a sports car. It's not practical. I'm not going to drive it down the shops every day and pick up my groceries, but it's fun and it's like an experience.
And the design cues talk to that. It's not a alpha body that's meant to be an absolute powerhouse workhorse.
Right.
This is a fun camera.
Yeah. And there's lots of things. The compactness, right, is incredible, but it's not got the biggest grip. And like building out our ergonomics and our grips and all that sort of stuff has been such a kind of story of the Alpha 7 range. And this is the complete opposite direction. This is like you'll work out how to hang on to it, but you're going to kind of work to the limitations that the camera presents. Before
we touch on a few other things, so I think we've had a few questions about this camera. I just want to do a little bit of ASMR. Let's put this right up to the microphone. Ooh. That's just the aperture ring between f22 and f2. Beautiful. What about that leaf shutter? It should be pretty quiet. Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah. I don't want to rack up the huge shutter count on this. All right, let's do the exposure comp dial. Oh, that's beautiful. Everything about it is just beautiful.
It feels dialed in.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, that's incredible. I am really excited by it. I probably say that with every Sony product because I'm a big fan. But there's just so many things to love about it. And I do like the direction because I think, like we talked about it last week, the democratization of, the whole bringing cinema into everyone's hands. But also, I think across the whole Alpha lineup, the direction is like build a camera for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you talk about the RX1R in the same breath as democratization because
I know
this is the opposite of a democratizing camra.
Yeah,
but it is definitely like an exciting kind of branch out. And I mean, we haven't, when you used to, I mean, prior to the announcement of this camera, you'd talk to people about the RX1 series cameras, and people's eyes go misty and they wax lyrical about, I still have mine,
those were the days.
I tried one once and. It's just a unique experience. I think people, really get a lot out of it. And for me, as a product specialist, getting the chance to really handle something completely different, completely breaking the mold, it's peak.
Yeah, it does feel like a step in a direction that maybe Sony's not been doing for a while. Obviously, that's kind of obvious. It's been 10 years. But no, I think it's a very premium product. Like that's totally acceptable. And like we said, for those people that maybe own maybe another alpha body or two alpha bodies, or they really value their craft, and they've been in the industry for a long time and they just want something that's going to be fun and good and just an everyday carry.
It's also an opportunity to talk to people outside the system. Usually an alpha camera is like, if you're not in the system, you're not going to be looking at it. But RX1R is like, it doesn't matter what system you're in. If you're interested in the camera, you can get the camera and get everything you want out of it. So, I think we get a few fence hoppers, just kind of checking it out.
Yeah.
Couple of things just to like round out. Single SD card slot. I think everyone would expect that.
That's pretty expected.
Yeah. It's using HDMI Mini D, which is, the mini format. Most of our bodies have gone to that HDMI Type A port, but, obviously on a compact body, that's the way it's going to be. I already mentioned the USB power delivery. I think that's great. It does have only a USB-C port, so you don't have a separate slot for remotes and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think not a big issue for most people. The other thing is we've moved to that fixed screen rather than having the tilt screen from the previous model.
Yeah.
Now, for me. I don't really miss it as much because I don't think of this as a camera that you kind of set up and work around. It's much more like you're typically going to have it in hand.
It's a very mobile camera. It's not,
Yeah.
you're not putting it on a tripod and crouching underneath it to do astro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
So-
it is one of those things that you'd probably want to be aware of before you picked one up because it is a kind of a change from the originals. But you're getting a lot more on the inside of this one.
Yeah, I think just the software and the hardware alone is
Insane.
a huge upgrade because I love the RX1R Mark II. I never owned one, but whenever I would go to events and stuff, I would always try and use it for,
Yes.
5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
The other design cue that's still familiar with the original is the actual screw in the top of the shutter
And
button.
it is a functional syringe shutter. So,
you can use the old school
click
click remotes.
Exactly. Which, you actually see some of these, screw type shutter buttons that are purely cosmetic, right? There's no, if you put a syringe shutter in there, it won't fire.
Okay.
But this
this
one
is
actually, it's functional.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
cool.
Also means you can customize it and put, a nice little soft toggle shutter button as well, which is nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen people kit theirs out with that. Should we get to the questions?
Yeah, let's dig into some questions.
Okay.
I think the first question was mainly around video, which is interesting because this camera is very much leaning into stills as opposed to video, but it is still packed with some of the good stuff from the Alpha 7R Mark V.
Yes.
So it does 4K 30 in 422 10-bit.
Yes.
You still get S-Log 3 in your XAVC SI codec.
Yes.
Yeah, so you still get all the same video codecs bar slow motion.
Yep.
But I don't think this is geared to that.
It's probably not going to be a major focus. Obviously, it's nice to know if you want to turn it on, it's there. I guess if you maybe had it as a extra camera and you wanted to use it to color match with stuff you're already shooting with, then having those log profile is going to help.
Yeah. As a travel camera as well, if you did just want to travel with one body,
Mm-hmm.
you can, oh sweet, I've still got the same codecs and formats that I'm used to and I can still shoot some video. Yeah.
It'll be compatible with all the same apps as all our other cameras as well. So if you want to use monitor and control, that sort of stuff,
Oh yeah.
there's no issue
Yeah,
there.
you can mount your phone on top and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
There's a question around what's the stabilization like. Not a stabilized camera in body, doesn't have our in-body image stabilization. I think that's just a size consideration ultimately. It does have the option of our digital active stabilization for video. If video is your main concern, then actually you do still get you do still get kind of the preferable stabilization for video. In terms of stills, look, it's a 35mm lens. I think it's probably not going to be a big issue for most.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, fast lens. But yes, it is, as we said, unstabilized. Another question was around dust and weather resistance, which is not something that we list on this particular camera body.
Okay.
Is one that you're going to want to think about protecting a little bit more than you would with your A7 series cameras. But yeah, not a thing that we list. Comparison then to A7CR.
I think this is probably one of the biggest maybe talking points that we should cover.
Mm-hmm.
Because bare bones and when it comes to the actual hardware, very similar.
Yeah,
very similar.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think one of the big comments that I see is people saying, hey, like you could get an A7CR and slap a 35mm lens on it.
Yeah,
and
like the 35-1.8 or the 40 f2.5 and you've got a very similar package.
And I think that's absolutely true if you're looking at specs. But if you actually get them in hand, you see very quickly that you're dealing with a completely different beast.
And also the form factor, I think, is really the key
right.
talking point, right?
Yeah. So yes, it is true. An A7CR and a 35mm lens will get you, not that different performance characteristics. But there's so much that's unique about the RX1R, and we've talked about heaps of it already, right? Your leaf shutter, the really unique lens design. I guess we haven't talked that much about the actual like optics of that lens, but it is really unique. The fact that instead of having to have something that can be bayoneted off and taken off and set on a shelf, we've got something that is built, like integrated so deeply into the camera body that you could never do it with an interchangeable lens.
Yeah, and it opens up more options for lens design because you don't have to worry about those considerations.
Yeah, that's right. And so, the last piece of glass in this lens is practically sitting on the sensor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's so deep in there.
Yeah.
If you tried to make this into an interchangeable lens, it would have a bunch of glass that like sits behind the mount. You know, it would be protruding, which of course we'd never do, right? You can't do it. So it is really a unique piece of glass. You know, the size, the weight, all that sort of stuff. It's just a very different experience.
Yeah, and I think until you probably hold it or have used a fixed lens camera before, it affects the whole way you shoot, the whole way you think, the whole way you frame, everything. Whereas I did have a 7CR for a while and I loved it, and I paired it with the 40 2.5 all the time. And that package itself was, I would say, similar in style, but you know, this is obviously a lot smaller. But even then I would still be like, oh, actually I'll just put a different lens on. Whereas like, I think, yeah, having a fixed lens does really change the experience.
It definitely vibes different.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a question also about, does it have a mechanical shutter?
Yeah.
We've kind of answered that already. It's got a leaf shutter, so it's kind of better than a mechanical shutter, really.
Yeah.
Or better than a what do we call it?
Focal plane.
Focal plane shutter. Yeah. And then everything else, just kind of like a few other bits and pieces around video, which I'm sure we can.
Yeah. I think for this camera, video is probably not going to be the priority. So it was actually kind of intriguing to me that so many people were asking for video. And I think that's also, you know, I talked about it with you when we went over the FX2 about how the market is incorporating and trending towards video. Yeah. So even if you are a stills photographer and this is your bread and butter and you really want to be, say, a street photographer, because of social media and the market in general, in order to promote your work or in order to, you know, work with more clients and things like that, sometimes video is part of it. It's part of it, yeah.
Yeah. And look, it's probably a product of just the way the camera was initially announced and promoted as well. Is just, you know, we are talking a lot about stills because it is probably the most stills-focused camera we've released recently. And so, yeah, I guess it's natural that people who have more of a kind of video bent are just like interested to hear.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm super excited. I can't believe you brought it in. I'm still over the moon that I get to touch this thing.
Yeah.
And get to touch it like, what, a day after it was released?
Yeah, 2 days after.
Oh my gosh. 2 days?
2 days after announcement.
Yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Does this have to go home with you? I'm going to go home and make a mold of my hands. This thing is really, really quite beautiful.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Why don't we sit up on the end of the table
so you can stop me from playing with it
and have pride of place for the rest of the podcast. It's never the most exciting announcement, but we did announce some new camera memory, so some new CF Express Type A cards, and a reader for them. I think it's important stuff to talk about. These are interesting because they're both really high capacity. So you've got the CEAG 1920T, which is it's a 2 terabyte card.
That's huge.
It's massive. It's really massive. And then there's the 960T, which is 1 terabyte.
And these are the second generation of those CF Type A cards.
That's right.
And they're considerably faster.
They're faster. I guess I will say, important to say as like a little asterisk on that. So these are CF Express V4 compliant cards, right? But none of our existing cameras in market are V4 compliant. So,
not yet.
Exactly, right. So, I mean, you can imagine, presumably down the road.
But that's obviously a strategic move to future-proof the system itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's a chicken and egg thing. If we launch a V4 compliant body, but there's no cards to put in it, that's not a very valuable feature. So, look, it's great future tech. But even right now, of course, they'll still support all the fastest write speeds on our existing cameras.
Yeah.
So, right now they're not really functionally that much any faster than what we've got on the market. You know, if you plug them into one of our existing cameras, the experience will be about the same, except that you'll have a bajillion photos worth of space.
Yeah, and the new card readers obviously to reflect that version 4 compliance, but they're still backwards compatible with the normal CF Express Type A card readers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's generally for all these formats, it's a requirement that they have to be backwards compatible. It is, of course. So the MRW G3 is the sort of Gen 3 card reader. So CF Express Class 4 compatible. It's also designed like with this kind of vented housing, so you can use those high read speeds and write speeds without worrying about heat, which they do generate some heat when they're writing at max speed.
Yeah, the G2, if you're dumping a lot of files consecutively, like from a full day shoot, like I think it's a little warm.
It'll warm up.
Yeah, it'll warm up.
So look, I mean, I think if you're splashing out on these cards, they're not the cheapest. Although, to be honest, I say they're not the cheapest. They are, in terms of bang for your buck, they're pretty good actually.
Yeah.
So it's $1,000 for the 960 gigabyte, and then $1,699 for the for the one that's nearly 2 terabytes. So yeah, I mean, look, there's not too much more to say about them. They're tough, like all our T series cards. So you can hammer nails with them if you want. Don't, but you can.
But you can. I think it is worth mentioning though, for people that maybe haven't even tried CF Express Type A at all yet, even though they've been in market for 4 years now.
Yeah, it's been a while. A7 Mark IV,
S3.
S3. You're right.
S3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still see a lot of people working with UHS2, and obviously, reliable, affordable.
Yeah,
lots of brands, lots of in market.
Yeah.
But once you've tried CF Express and using the MRW G2 card reader, it's like dumping files is the experience and the improvement to your workflow is it's worth every penny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially if you do, I think probably for a casual hobbyist who's shooting, smaller amounts of files, the transfer speed's not a big deal. But once you start shooting video, you start shooting like longer form stuff, that transfer speed, it's money.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's also the CF Express, it's a different physical form factor. So you do have to check, whether your camera's got the compatibility for it. And I will say, like, the only stuff that is absolutely locked behind CF Express cards is like if you're shooting 120 frames per second in 10-bit at the highest, like that. And there's a few other examples, but generally speaking,
usually V90s will get you 90% of the way there.
Exactly. Yeah. Most of the stuff you want to do is going to be going to be SD card possible. But yeah, look, CF Express is nice for peace of mind. Anything you want to do on your camera, the card supports it. So yeah.
Next up, there's a new mic.
There's a new mic. We have the new ECM 778, which is a shotgun microphone. I think this is going to be a mic that is for the pros, realistically. So,
it's the long shotgun style.
That's right.
The kind of one you'd be using in a top handle on, FX30, FX3, FX6 and up.
Yeah. And also the kind of thing you'd be using on a boom. So you see like a professional sound recordist with a blimp on the end of the long arm or whatever. That's probably the kind of mic they're going to be using in that one. I think probably the story with this mic is it's a little shorter. It's like a little bit shorter, a bit lighter. It's kind of a more compact version, but still gives you the performance characteristics you want out of one of those like really high end.
Yeah, okay. That's exciting though.
It is. Look, it is. It's still not a cheap mic by any stretch of the imagination. But I think for people who, are serious about their sound recording, who want to have, a top flight mic, they want to be able to know like, whatever my target is, if I'm going to broadcast, if I'm going to go to, cinema, whatever it is, I'm going to have a mic that kind of performs at that top level.
Yeah.
In the end, you're investing in your kit. That's just,
I invest way too much into my kit.
Hey, it's a tax write-off. Yeah. So look, I mean, $2,000 odd for a microphone it's a good chunk of change, but it's in the end, if you're a sound recordist, then you should be spending that kind of money on a serious microphone.
And I think something I always bring up at my scene workshops that are at least video focused is, if you probably shouldn't say, but you remember back in the day, if you were watching a film in low resolution, but the sound was great, you would happily watch it. Watchable.
Yeah.
Whereas if you watch something in 8K and the audio is terrible, I won't watch it.
No, it's like they call it like a hygiene factor, right? It's just like if the video is like a sliding scale, like your enjoyment kind of like smoothly goes up as it looks better, but audio is like as soon as the audio's like doesn't hit a certain threshold of being good,
that's it.
It's just like forget it. I'm out.
Yeah, it's like the 3-second rule. Like once it's done.
I can't. Yeah. I will not. I refuse to listen. So yeah, that's right. It's like physical discomfort if it's that bad.
Yeah. So buy good audio gear.
C80. What a great mic.
Yeah, we're using C80s, one of the professional.
Yeah.
These are condenser microphones.
It is. Yeah. Beautiful mic. Yeah, especially for this kind of thing.
He puts on the voice.
Oh, and then I crack my voice as well, which is
Yeah.
whoopsie. Anyway, look, I mean, I think there's not too much more to say about the mic. A lot of the materials around this mic have come down to, talking to pros, talking to the engineers who designed it. This was actually like the brainchild of like one guy who's been in our mic engineering department for God knows how long, and in the materials around it, he talks about what he wanted to, what his goals were making the 776. So, yeah, look, I mean, it's a unique piece of kit, but probably for most people who just want to take great shots, it's not going to be on the shopping list necessarily. So, with the hardware out of the way, should we talk just a bit about software?
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Okay, all right. So, we have a new firmware for the A6700, which dropped just recently.
Exciting.
Yeah, I think so. So this is going up to version 2. So
version 2. Okay.
So first kind of major firmware drop for the A6700. And, I think there's a lot of really good stuff in here. So I'll just kind of step through the kind of key call-outs.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this briefly, saying, like some firmware is good for everyone. Yeah. Some firmware is great for some.
Yeah.
And some firmware is just a nice to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Yeah. There's no such thing as bad firmware, right?
No, of course not.
It's a free upgrade. Just say thank you and take it.
Yeah.
But obviously, some stuff is going to be relevant for every person who uses this camera. Other stuff, less so. So we'll just step through it. First thing, it increases the number of images it can put in a folder as you're shooting to 9,999.
Yep.
So that's a step up. Probably not going to make a massive difference for most people, but especially, I guess, with those new cards we were just talking about, might be nice to have an extra few thousand.
Yeah.
Improves image quality when applying user LUTs. So this is for people who are, shooting log footage. And you've got an imported LUT that you're bringing from, whatever, DaVinci Resolve. You've brought that onto the camera. You're applying it onto your footage. So for people who are using that, they're going to get better picture quality, which I think is great. For anyone who uses LUTs, that's
I know I put all of the red scope LUTs in my cameras.
Mm-hmm.
There is a note though, if you're using LUTs, you do need to make sure that they're the right type of file, not just a generic cube file. There's obviously a certain specification. I think it's .33, and that's the actual file that the Sony cameras can read.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Next thing, which I think is actually a really great one, is it displays the Wi-Fi signal strength when you're using Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's good.
It's good.
That's actually really good. Yeah.
I think it's nice, especially, we've had this sort of constant improvement with all the Wi-Fi functionality. And I think around that, there's always this piece of kind of how interpretable is the interface, right? Like
is it on or off?
Yeah. And it used to just be like, you turn on your Wi-Fi and it's like, what's your signal strength? I don't know. Hopefully good enough. But if it stopped working, you wouldn't really know like what's going on. I think this just makes it much easier to use it, to feel confident that your link is good and all that sort of stuff.
Especially if you're using like the monitor and control app.
Huge.
Because if you're moving away from the camera and you're operating it remotely or things like that, that is kind of handy to have.
Yeah. And it's going to vary depending on stuff that you don't immediately see. And it's not just having a wall between you and the receiver. It could be there's a bunch of Wi-Fi interference. Whatever.
You're at a Sony scene event and everyone else is connecting their camera to monitor and control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've definitely lived that experience. Okay, so other stuff. The camera will now have notifications when there's a software update for your camera.
Yeah, I've noticed that through the Creator app.
Yeah.
But it actually has the notification in camera now.
It'll send it over.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, nice. Yeah. Again, I think you always want to know. And if you don't have your ear to the ground, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, then you might not know. So it does have a few footnotes about you need to have the latest version of the Creators app, all that sort of stuff. But you'd assume that.
Read the T's and C's.
Keeping that up to date is assumed. Okay, you can also there's a few there's kind of a series of improvements to transferring stuff to your phone or tablet. So I'll just kind of like tick through those. You can tell it to only transfer stuff that hasn't already been sent to your smartphone or tablet. So nice
no double ups.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's also some changes to the Wi-Fi functionality. So this is actually quite a big change. ultimately. It won't affect most people that much, but basically the old WPA and WEP encryption for secure Wi-Fi are no longer supported, and now
Okay.
it's going to be WPA2 and WPA3 only.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess technically,
I love that you're saying like that to me, like I know what you're saying, but my nerding out ends with the camera and stops at Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi is the limit. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I think for most people, your phone, it's probably not going to be an issue, right? If you're just connecting your camera to your phone, phones are, up on this stuff. I guess there's probably a rare case of a really old home router that might not have, WPA2, and there you could run into issues where your camera will no longer connect to that. So probably, if you are, for some reason, I think this is kind of a corner case, but if you are using an old Wi-Fi router regularly with your 6700, then just check what its protocols are before you upgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, it would have to be real old. Otherwise, I think this is just a straight up upgrade. Again, it's one of those things where it's like probably most people like Clyde are not up on their wireless security protocols. It's better. We moved it from the worst one and it's on the better one now. So just get it.
Other software, I think there's been a update to some camera verify features.
Yeah. So this was in the news. I think it's worth touching on just so that if you looking at it and going like, what does that mean for me?
I think it's really interesting. I don't think it impacts too many people.
No, I think basically no one in Australia is really impacted by this right now.
Okay. But it's still interesting.
Yeah, or New Zealand. It is super interesting, which is, so this is all on the back of C2PA, the content capture and provenance or authenticity solution. It's basically like around being able to understand where an image came from. And so C2PA is a initiative to have kind of a hardware-led solution that lets you it's
basically an embedding in the file.
Yeah, so it embeds some cryptographic stuff into the file to give you more confidence that an image is actually real.
In the same way that you can have normal metadata where it will show shutter speed, aperture, ISO,
right.
and what camera. It's additional information saying, this is real, this was taken.
Yeah, that's right. This is the camera that was used. This is the depth information.
Yeah, and that's particularly important for journos.
Yeah, that's right. That's the intention. And that's also part of why it's not really available in Australia and New Zealand at the moment. It is kind of in the baby stages of being rolled out.
Okay.
So at the moment, it's provided either through an organization. So maybe if you work for the Associated Press, something like that, your photo editor might provide you with the credentials to get it set up.
Yeah.
Or in certain markets now, you can actually apply directly to us. So this would be for stringers, people who are freelance photographers working for a news organization, sort of thing.
And I think that ties also in with, there's a few software or editing solutions now that are offering something similar.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see everything integrated.
Yeah.
In the sense that, once if the image is processed or edited in some way, it's, tagging that in the file saying, this is the original file, this is the edit, this is what has changed.
Yeah.
And 100%. Was AI used or yes or no?
Yeah. And all the major editing suites now have kind of got that sort of stuff. So I mean, Adobe being the obvious one, but there's others as well. So it'll embed a thumbnail of like, here's what it looked like before, here's what it looked like after. You can sort of see the whole history.
I think that's really important. We haven't touched on AI really much on this podcast yet. I know that when I had Pat on, when we wrapped up, he walked outside and went, "Oh, I wish I talked about AI." But I think something like this, like you said, it's not rolled out completely yet. But I think it's a good approach and a very good step in the right direction.
Yeah. And look, like any cryptographic tool, it's not going to be perfect. In the end, if you have a determined hacker who's like really trying to like bust the encryption on this thing, when you're just trying to look at all the images that get thrown at you on the course of a day, it's nice to have something that at least gives you like that next level of confidence. And I think this will do that. So it's cool.
I remember at Kando, the very first Kando, there was, unfortunately, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was a war photographer that was working in the Sudan. And especially when you're covering sensitive topics like that.
Yes.
I think there's a pressure for authenticity. And I think that's another step in the right direction, especially with all the stuff we see on the internet these days.
Might have been Matt Abbott.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Great photographer. Yeah. So
shout out.
Yeah. If you're watching, Matt. the thing I wanted to wrap up on there is just for everyone basically who's going to be watching this in Australia and New Zealand, this is not yet relevant. So look, it'll come up down the road, no doubt, as this stuff rolls out. But for now, you're probably not working with anyone who's requesting C2PA credentials on the stuff that you submit. And there's no way for people in our market to access this stuff yet anyway. So, at the moment, it's just FYI, but I think a cool little sidebar.
No, I think definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that about wraps us up. Thank you so much for coming in again. I'm loving these tech episodes. I'm learning a lot. And also, I'm enjoying sharing everything with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I talking nerdy is it's my job anyway, but it's fun to kind of like come in and just kind of wrap up all the stuff that's been happening. So, thanks for having me on.
No problem. All right. That's been episode 4 of the Full Frame Podcast presented by Sony. See you next week.